I've got a new logo I'm testing, Rick. Embrace the red in red letters. On the way to, in blue letters, green in a green
Yes.
letter.
Yes. Get to green. Yeah.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that logo I've been playing around with?
No, I haven't, but I've been utilizing it somehow.
Yes. I tell you what, Matt,
Mm.
we'll get you a copy of that. Maybe you can put it in here so people can see it.
Yeah. So Rick, I'm curious, going back to, so Pat prompted you for kind of a tactical example of the last section. I want to kind of prompt you. I would love to hear an example because you mentioned that you'll actually review the lock-on report on the weekends and kind of see where you're at. And I would love to hear, are there any, recent examples of some of the tactical adjustments you've made from looking at the lock-on report and then going into the next week and making some types of adjustments?
Not of recent.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple of years, there have been a number of times when I'm looking at certain things and realizing that, geez, I've been working on these searches and I haven't been generating the level of interviews that need to be generated at this point.
Mm.
And where am I missing? And what, and I look back at the search and am I approaching the right people? Am I sourcing the right candidate? I mean, it prompts a lot of the things, the questions that you have to ask yourself. And that's a big part of the success of my business has been being able to continually ask myself, where is this person that I'm searching for? What are they doing? What would they tell me if I asked them this? How have they been able to adjust and adapt to changing environments? The environment's changing dramatically. How have they been able to do that? What types of questions can I ask them? What does my client really want to see? And I'm constantly asking these questions, and that's part of the lock-on, asking the questions. Why have I not? How come there's not? Well, and there's other situations where, I'm working on, because of my time, I'm not able to work on 3 searches. Because these 2 are incredibly time consuming and it's been very challenging. So I'm limiting myself to, as an example, at the end of last year, I'm only going to work on these 2 searches because I just can't afford to any risk to those searches, and they're taking more and more time. So I'm not going to take a 3rd search. Well, that explains why I didn't have certain numbers in certain areas, because I wasn't doing 3 searches or 4 searches. I was doing 2, but I understood that, and that was okay. Otherwise, I'd see the red or the blue and say, geez, caution, let's red flag. Let's look at that and what's happening there. So it's constant. I mean, is there ever, it's just wonderful to be able to go home on a Sunday or even on a Saturday sometimes and feel that the sense that I know everything I'm going to do next week. I've got it all down. I looked at all my numbers. I've got my approach. All my systems locked in. I'm ready to go. I can go home for the rest of the weekend and feel real good about it and know that on Monday I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready to go, and I got some things to execute that I'm excited about that are on my mind, and we're going to get it done.
Yeah, love it.
Matt, what I can tell you is that through the battling that Rick and I did intensely, and then once we came through on the other side of that, through the partnership that Nico and Rick and I have been able to build over the years, he's completely integrated into what those numbers mean. The way I say that, and I don't know if I've ever spoken with you about this, Rick, the way in my own language, because I pulled this from my financial background in the 80s, where I learned technical analysis of stocks and commodities. So there is, you put the numbers on a chart, and that's technical. Then when you're looking at what causes those numbers to go this way or to go that way, that's fundamental. And so for me, whenever I approach the lock-on report, I first go technical. I'm looking, all right, what do the numbers say? And we're looking at that very objectively. And then we get underneath them. We ask, why are the numbers the way they are? And so Rick and I fought, I can say, I never thought of it this way before, Rick, but I think I can accurately say we fought about the technical side far more than we ever did the fundamental. And then once we got through that, and especially as both Nico and I have been able to come to know your practice, you really are integrated with both sides. So what's going on in the numbers? That's the technical. Why are they the way they are? And what must be done? What are the options? Lower my goal here. Understand that I've reduced from 3 searches down to 2, like you were just explaining. Those are the fundamental things. And I'm telling you, Matt, no one, I've got, again, wonderful clients. I don't want to make a negative comparison, but no one could be more, in my judgment, no one could be more fully integrated in both the what and the why of their lock-on report work than Rick is.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Thanks, man.
You got it. It's true.
Well, speaking of the relationship that you guys developed, that was just the last thing that we wanted to cover before we close out the conversation. So let's start with you, Pat. So what's your perspective on it? And we've talked about both Rick's like internal standard of performance, the work ethic and intensity that he brings to it. Then you pair that with the lock-on report and the intelligent, like tactical adjustments you can make along the way that's informed by that. So what have the results been of those two things being combined over the course of the coaching relationship in Rick's business?
Well, as I said, thanks, Matt. Great question. As I said before, there is, and I believe this is true about everyone. I think that the line separating our spirituality from our work is a bogus one. I don't believe in its reality. I think it's something artificial that we draw. We draw this line, over here, we go to church on Sunday or whatever. And over here, we work and live, and we're capitalists over here, but over here, we've got to be altruistic. And we have this split. Yeah. And that split is something that I utterly oppose. I believe it's something we create. I don't think it's a natural split or organic at all. Mm-hmm. And so as the years went by and we drew together more and more over the work itself, over the process of his work, as I came to understand the artistry that Rick, exhibits and demonstrates in everything he does. And as we found our way into this integration of the what and the why in the numbers, I began to feel the power of something far more profound than I could possibly have expected. And that is Rick's love of family and Rick's spiritual relationship to God. So that by not having this artificial break between work and the rest of who Rick is, we were able to begin finding areas where, and I won't say it has anything to do with the lock-on report, but the skills that we built together as a team applied immediately once we turned there. And I'm hoping Rick will tell us maybe a couple of things about maybe his relationship to his father, especially, an incredible man and an incredible relationship that they have, and also about Rick's prayer life. We've worked on that together, and I believe that, well, instead of me saying, let's turn it over to Rick.
I don't know where to begin. I mean, you and Nico have had a very positive impact on me. We talked a lot about spirituality as well, and some of the outcomes of those discussions, I can tell you, have had pretty big impact. One of them has to do with the relationship with my dad, who is just a great guy. His energy, his intensity, he's just he cares about people. He's just this great guy, and everybody that knew him or that knows him understands that. But he's over the last 20 years, he's gone in a direct decline from dementia and Alzheimer's, and he's nowhere near who he had been. And I pay my dues, I go see him, but there's no connection, and it's obvious because he doesn't even know who I am. So Pat helped me see that he's still the same person. He's just in a different space, but he does know who I am. And if I believe that and take the time to look him in the eye, and instead of talking and trying to expect him to work with me on in that framework, in that dimension, to work with him in a different dimension. And it was like, what? I don't as I understood, he broke it down and said, just look him in the eye and shut up and communicate with him emotionally at a different level. And I tried it. And he also said to get a couple books that he from authors that he used to like, and I did and read to him. But the most important thing is looking at my father in the eye, and we just start laughing, and we connect at a completely different level. And I'd go see him and for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and he's out. So I would leave empty and feel like, this guy, he's done. And why is he still alive? And it's just so sad and really down. Now I leave after looking at him, and I can't put words to it. We had an incredible relationship, and he's happy and I'm happy and he's doing well. And that has had a pretty big impact on me.
Let me explain something there again to you, Rick. You come into the encounter with your father not knowing your power. You don't know what you have the ability to accomplish because this has been shut off in your mind. You have not had it opened up to you that you can break through and connect. There's a power that is involved, but it's not like a typical thing like an arm wrestling match or, it's not the typical way we think of power. It is the power of connection. And you hold that uniquely. I mean, we all hold it, but you've got your own very, very special version. And this is one of the most important relationships of your life. When you enter that room, it's impossible for him not to pay attention to you. That was not something you understood. And so I had to help you, and I had to get you over because you weren't going to understand it until you experienced it. So I just said, go do this.
Yes.
Trust me on this one.
Yeah.
Go do it. Remember?
Yeah, and it worked out really well.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, you.
And then the prayer life one is something that is very intriguing to me, and I'm dialing into. I can't put really. It's positive. It's very positive. I just can't really assess or give it much history in the sense that.
Well, it's new.
He's helped me with. There's a book out there, and we've both read it, and it's very impactful. And there's a lot more unpacking to be done, but I can tell you that my prayer life is very alive, and because of this book and our discussions about it.
Let me put it in the simplest terms, and I know what you have not yet gotten clarified. Maybe this will help a little further right now, Rick. In the most simple of terms, when you are praying, and let's focus on the relationship of prayer to work directly, okay? You need to be as committed and dedicated as you are. That we have established. But there's a single challenge I want you to experiment with going forward, like from here forward, and see how far you can get with it. And that is to ask in your prayers, and I'm going to talk about asking and listening in just a second, to ask God in your prayer life where you should be taking joy from your work more. Your dedication, your commitment, that's crystal clear. Your quality, we've, slaughtered that topic, okay? You don't need to pray about that. You've got that. But the joy of your day, even when you're awake at night, like messing with it, there's a joy in that. You're addicted to it in a positive way.
Right.
The joy, you don't extract as much joy from every day or from the entire week or from the entirety of your extraordinary accomplishments. We haven't talked about Rick's outcomes, his numbers. I don't know if we're going to be talking about that or not, but let me tell you, they are amazing. Rick does very, very well at the level of outcomes. So there's no question at any there. But what is it within the day, so the joy of your work? And I'm going to, instead of using boxing, I'm going to use baseball. It's going to be closely connected. Imagine a hitter, Casey at the bat, instead of striking out, he swings and he connects. And he feels that vibration through the bat, and he knows that ball is going to go sailing over the stadium wall. He knows he's made that home run. What is the joy of that moment? You do a lot more of that than you realize. And in your prayer life, and so let me just quickly turn to the asking and listening. In fact, I'm going to turn it into a question to you. Do you remember that we discussed speaking to God and then shutting up and listening for what he's saying back? Is that a part that you've been focused on?
Yes, it has.
That's what I'm talking about relative to this joy. You will find that there is so much more joy waiting for you than you've ever harvested.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
Interesting. Well, there's man, we could go way deep down that path. The three of us, good Lord. But we're not going to.
Right?
Yes.
That's plenty, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, Rick, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you opening up and sharing. And this is a really, really fun, in-depth conversation for me and for all of us. So, yeah, I think we'll turn it over there, and Pat, you and I will kind of close things out.
Sure.
Separately, maybe give a little bit more detail on the outcomes that you mentioned so that people get an understanding of what Rick's trajectory has been.
Before we end, though, allow me to express a heartfelt thank you to Rick right now. Mm-hmm. Rick, one of the things I've always felt has been, and I've always been a little bit devilishly gleeful about it, I feel like I've been one of the best kept secrets in the world of recruiting. And, I feel like I've had impacts at, this level, that level, that I'm always kind of like more the guy behind the curtain than the guy out front. And one of the reasons why is consider the intimacy of the work that we've done together over the years. And how do you share something like that? And I've always understood that. But today, you've really come out and you've allowed us to go places that can be shared with others in a way that I've never had anyone go this far in a manner that could be shared before, Rick. And I need to know that it means the world to me. And I'm thanking you from the bottom of my heart. It's been one of the high points of my career, my entire career, working with you these years. And that we can share this with others means more to me than I can express. I thank you.
It is a shame that the impact that you have is not as known as it should be, but hopefully this may help.
Oh, it'll help. It'll help. And Matt's helping me greatly, as you can tell. You and I would never have done this if it weren't for Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, I think it is a crime that Pasquale is the man behind the curtain. A little bit too much for my taste, so we're working on it.
We're working on it, and I'm listening. I'm learning from you.
Thanks, guys.
Woo, well, that was an incredible conversation with Rick. How was that?
Wow, I've never had a conversation like that recorded in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we can share this with people. I'm speechless, and me, it's like a contradiction. Speechless, anyway.
Yes. For anyone that knows you, it's more true than you know.
But thanks to Rick. I mean, I will watch this interview myself multiple times to take it in ever more deeply. It was a learning experience for me. After all these years of working together with Rick, to have it all compressed like this, I will view and study this multiple times.
Yeah. There were some things that came out in that conversation that I know you didn't expect. I don't think Rick expected to go certain places and reveal and talk about certain things that I think other people are going to get a lot of value out of. And if you are the same type of person, if you aspire to be the same type of performer that Rick is, that there is so much to take away from this conversation that will continue to feed back in and improve your own performance in your own career and your own business. That's absolutely worth the time that you've invested the first time around into the conversation and any future reviewing
absolutely,
or watching.
But also, even if you're nothing like Rick, because there aren't very many, even if you're nothing like Rick, but if you have a passion to find what's the very best that you've got to bring to your work, it's impossible to listen to what Rick has to share with us and not be inspired.
That's right. All right. Well, with that said, I think we'll wrap things up. Pasquale, thank you so much for connecting Rick and all of us together for this conversation. And we hope people will check out the other material that you have available and learn more about the Lock-On Report and along with the interview that you have here. I'm sure there'll be links and everything that you can follow up with to get more information about the concepts and the tools that Rick uses. So with that said, Pasquale, thanks so much again, and we'll see everybody.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.